Okay, so, cheers for that, Steve. Just so you guys can get your Bibles ready, we're looking at Genesis 4, 1 to 16, which is the story of Cain and Abel. Did any of you guys do the noise at the weekend? Any of you guys do the noise? A few. Nice one. Maybe.
Well, I helped out with the old people's dinner.
Nice. It was good. It was hot. I got horrendously sunburned. It was really bad. But it was good. It was a good day. Cool. And also, there's a quick bit of feedback from the last prayer meeting, actually. The prayer watch thing that was going on, happens once a month. There was a lot of prayer for the guys of the church and words for the guys of the church. That was really encouraging to see that everyone down there had a real heart for what we're doing and the guys in the church in general and stuff. And it was really good, really encouraging. So I'll say if you can get along to that next time. I think it's in the first week of every month, I think, something like that. So yeah, it's cool. Well, like I said, we're doing Cain and Abel today. Who's heard the story before? That should be a show of every hand. Everyone's heard Cain and Abel. Cool. Well, I'll read the first bit and then we'll get cracking. Now Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, "I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord." And again she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain a worker of the ground. In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of fruit of the ground, and Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and their fat portion. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his face fell. The Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry, and why is your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it." Cain spoke to Abel his brother, and when they were in the fields, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, Where is Abel your brother?" And he said, "I do not know. I am not my brother's keeper." And the Lord said, "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. And now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it shall no longer yield to you its strength. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth." Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me today away from the ground, and from your face I shall be hidden. I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." Then the Lord said to him, "Not so. If anyone kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold." And the Lord put a mark on Cain, lest anyone who found him should attack him. Then Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cool. Good story. Interesting story. True story. Definitely true story. Okay. So, Cain and Abel. Okay, sons of Adam and Eve. Now, Cain, remember, is the firstborn. He's the oldest. He was the first one out. And he is most likely a farmer. Works the land. It calls him there, worker of the ground. Abel is the younger and a shepherd. But one thing to note there is Cain doesn't get mentioned first, it's Abel. You would expect, since he is the firstborn, that he would get mentioned first. It's quite an interesting thing that God always seems to do there with an older and a younger. Puts the younger first. In those days, when you went to worship, you brought an offering. Here we see two brothers bringing their own offering. And it was something that actually cost them something. You know, they're bringing one of their sheep. Their foal might not have been that big, but they brought something to sacrifice to the Lord. And this is something they've done together regular basis. Most likely on the Sabbath, they've always come together, made sacrifices to the Lord. So this is something that's a regular part of their day, much like us going to church is a regular part of our week. And an interesting point is, it says that God had regard for Abel's, but not for Cain's. But have you ever thought how Cain knew that he didn't have regard for his offering? It struck me when I was thinking about it, and it's very interesting when you start to look into the detail of the words. it will either say the Lord had regard or respect for Abel. When you translate this into the original Hebrew, it means to look with interest, look with keen interest, and it's also been translated to kindle into flame, which gives a nice picture if you use that translation of actually Abel's was burnt up and Cain's stayed there. It was just an interesting thing to see. Like, actually, how did Cain know that God wasn't happy with his? It was something that struck me. And I thought it was quite an interesting little thing. But Cain is angry. He is angry that God has not taken his. He is fuming. He's very angry, and his face fell. His face fell. Now, the way this is worded, this is not a confused, what's going on. This is an absolute total flipping out. He is fuming. He is so pissed off, so annoyed. He is the firstborn. His should be taken, not Abel's. It should be mine, not his. And he doesn't go down the route of what's going on here, God, what's going on. But he just gets angry and jealous towards his brother. And for a lot of us, I mean, anger might have been an issue for us. It's been an issue for me. It might be the same. So I can definitely resonate with Cain in this thing, this whole flipping out and going straight to anger. But Cain at least brought something. He brought an offering with him. Even though it wasn't accepted by the Lord, at least he brought something. Most of us, when we go to church, we don't bring anything. We just turn up and sit there and then leave at the end of the time. So, why didn't God take Cain's? Now, there's two interesting points here. The first is that did Cain actually bring the right sacrifice to the Lord? Abel brings a sheep. Cain brings fruit of the ground. Now, this may not actually have been what God wanted. He might have missed the point here. Cain might have missed the point. He brought the fruit of the ground. If you look at your text, it says it uses the word his when it's talking about Abel. It says the first of his flocks, but it doesn't use that word when it's talking about Cain's. It says just the fruit of the ground. So actually, has Cain brought something that he spent time toiling over, looking after like Abel would have, like protecting the sheep, rearing them up and so on? Or has he just brought something that he found along the way in like a fruit bush or something and brought it along and go, oh, this will do. Has he done that? So has Cain missed the point that actually bringing something of sacrifice to the Lord should be something that actually, is difficult to give? It's difficult to give. For Abel, we don't know whether his flock was 10 or 5 sheep. You don't know. Like, losing one sheep is quite a bit. But if Cain's just brought a load of fruit that she's just found, that's fruit of the earth, he's just giving God back what's his in the first place, that God's given. Interesting thought. Second, Cain's heart and mind is wrong. God straight away sees this in him. He gives the sacrifice, he gives it, and you could see it. He's almost a bit blasé about it. He puts it down, and straight away, God doesn't take it, flips out, that's not fair. So what's going on in his attitude, in his head and his mind? And instantly, God does what he does for all of us, every day, whenever we're reading a Bible, all the time. He warns you. He warns you. Throughout the Bible, it is full of warnings. Don't do this. This isn't a good idea, don't do it. What does he say? He says, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it. God's saying, look, Cain, something's here. It's going to go wrong. It's going to blow up if you don't deal with it. How many times do we go through the Bible, pray, God tells us, hey, you shouldn't really be doing this. The Bible says, you shouldn't really be doing this. But you go, no, I'll keep going. And then you complain when it goes wrong. And God's already warned you once. God warns us through his Bible not to do these things. And that's what he does for Cain. He's warning you. He's like, come on, you've got to get this sorted out. You've got to get this sorted out. Imagine it must be quite frustrating for God sometimes when he's got I've just put it in front of you. I've told you what to do. Sort it out. And later on, you see the effects of Cain not dealing with his sin. He kills Abel in a premeditated attack and buries Abel. So, He's doing something that he's done with his brother loads of times. They've gone out for a walk in the countryside, messing about, and then he kills him. He's probably hidden like a murder weapon somewhere. He's got something on him. He's probably had to hide a spade somewhere to be able to dig a hole and bury the body. He's been thinking about this, and he's walking along the side of his brother the whole time, chatting, trying not to give anything away. But that's a premeditated murder. He kills his brother. And remember, that's something that he's got to live with for the rest of his life. He's got to go see his parents and know that he's just killed his brother. He's got to live with that. And we've all been at Sunday school like, Cain's the bad guy. We all point the finger at him and go, yeah, he's a bad guy. I'm not like him. But actually, no, that's the wrong side. We're not like Abel. Abel's the really good guy. He's almost the Jesus character of this story. We're on the other side of the line here. We've got the heart of Cain. How many of us go through life doing premeditated sin or wishing we could go kill that person? I'm fairly sure I'd be confident to just go punch someone in the face if I knew I could get away with it. We're not on the side of Abel. We're over here with Cain. Our hearts and minds need to be changed by God. So coming on to worship, we come here every Sunday, whether it's morning, evening, and we have time of worship and bringing ourselves to God. But do we remember that actually it's not about us? Do we remember that it's about God, first of all? It's not about what we can get out of the service. As Cain was there, like, I didn't get out what I wanted out of this sacrifice that I put down there, so I'm going to flip out. Most of us, we don't even give anything when we turn up. We sit there and then complain that the service wasn't any good. It's interesting to note that in Mars Hill in the US, our generation in the US is the worst for giving financially, which is a little bit scary. It's almost like us saying, why shall I give God 10% of my money? That's my money, why should I give 10? And God saying, why should I give you 90? You've got 90 left. God only wants 10, That's just a guideline, He just wants 10. How many of you guys, if you gave away 10% of your money to the church, would you even feel that? Would you even feel 10%? Is 10% giving out of faith for you? And being open in worship. It's interesting to note that if you go into the presence of the Queen, I wouldn't probably turn up like this. I would probably buy a new suit, buy something nice, polish up my shoes, maybe have a shower, clean and do fingernails. But that won't cost me. I'd go buy these things. I'd really go for it. But God doesn't look at the outside. He looks at the inside and what's going on in your heart and mind. And do you actually check what's going on in your heart and mind on a regular basis? Or do you just sit there with a hard heart? I've often done that in church, just gone, no, this isn't happening. Well, how do you treat your outside? Do you treat your heart as it's important to God? And your mind as it's important to God? Do you look after your mind and your sight so you don't feed your mind bad information? Are you looking after your heart, which God sees? Now, Cain was pretty stubborn. He was pretty stubborn. God approaches him and says, where's your brother? Where's your brother, mate? Come on. Where is he? And he is stubborn. He is big-headed. He is just like, I'm not my brother's keeper. I don't need to know about that. He's just really stubborn. He just doesn't want to give up. We can all relate to that stubbornness of just being like, no, this isn't for me. No, I'm keeping my heart to myself. God, it's not yours. I'm not going to let you in. I'm not going to let you in. And we just go through like that, don't we? We often do that. I've been there. I'm sure other people can resonate with that. But one thing to remember, God keeps trying with Cain. He keeps on trying. He keeps on trying. He keeps on giving him chances and chances. And what does he do? He actually curses. Well, it's not really curse. He makes things difficult for Cain, doesn't he? He makes things difficult. He is a farmer. And the one thing that you want is for your soil to be nice to you so it's actually easy to do your job. But he makes it difficult. The soil won't help him anymore. It won't help him anymore. He's going to be pushed away from his family. And at that point, Cain complains. He's like, "You've made it so difficult for me. You've made it so hard." And we all do that. I mean, I said earlier, we get warned and warned and warned about not doing stuff, about this isn't a good idea. Come on, I've got a better plan for you. I've got a bigger plan for you. And then we go our own way and then we complain that God didn't help us out or God didn't tell me what to do. But what does it say? What does it say further on? Eventually, Cain realises what he does. And I think this is what this is. I think Cain actually repents of what he's done. He realises what he's done. Eventually, it clicks in his head. Because what does God do? God blesses Cain. God blesses him. And he makes him safe. So that no man will kill him. Nothing will happen to him. And he's got the blessing of God. That should be exciting for all of us. God doesn't just want to tell us off, punish us. No, that's not the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible is the one who wants to get to know your heart, get to know who you are, and help you develop, help you to get to graft, to know him, to get you to grow. He wants to bless you with everything. He's like the perfect father who wants to be able to give you all the good gifts he can. So what is your attitude? When you're coming and going from church, what is your attitude? Do you sort of slump into church, dragging your feet, going, "I do it just because I do it"? Do we just be a pew warmer in church, or do we actually participate in church? Do we leave church saying, "Oh, I didn't like how that was said, I didn't really get anything from the music, the preacher wasn't good looking, the drummer was too loud," all these sorts of things? What is actually going on? Or are you there for the glory of one person? Are you there, as Abel was, taking his sacrifice to the Lord, truly heart, true mind, going for the Lord, going, "Yes, God, this is for you, this is my first, this is my everything"? Do we do that in church? Do we actually go to church going, "God, this is my life. This is my life. Come in, sort me out, I want to do business with you tonight"? Do we do that? Or do we just go through the motions, and do we harden our hearts to the Lord and not let him in? What are you thinking about while you're sitting here now? What are you thinking about? Maybe beer wasn't cold enough, chicken wasn't quite enough, maybe we're 26 pieces too short, there are no girls here, I could be playing FIFA. What are you thinking at the moment? What is going on in your head at the moment, guys? Are you here to... What?
I want to know which women would tell.
Maybe we need to pray. No. This is a woman, yeah. I've lost my place now. Yeah, no, so what is your attitude while you're sitting there? Are you here to actually do business with God? Are you here to learn? Are you here to really meet with God? Are you here to let any words that God's got here for you sink in? Or are you going to be stubborn like Cain was and not let God come into your life? So why is this important for us? And this is coming to the end before we go into groups and start discussing it. Why is this important to us? Do we, or you, or us as a group as well, just give the easy portion of our lives and our money and our wealth? Do we just give the easy bit because we can? Do any of us serve at church? Do we even give our time? Do we give our time? Do we give our lives? Do we give our aspirations, our jobs? Do we actually give in faith to God? Do we give our first and our very, very best to the one who deserves it the most? And the next thing is, do we actually deal with our sin? Or do we just get used to it and try and forget that it ever happened? Or do we actually try and nip it in the bud? You know, when I used to get angry, my hands used to tingle. I knew I needed to hit something. And I got a chance there to deal with it straight away because I knew what was coming. I remember one trip from London, half an hour trip, I was tingling all the way, I didn't deal with it at all. Got home, smashed the front door. Half an hour, I had to deal with it. Ridiculous. But I didn't. How much time How many times do you guys just let it roll on? How many times do you let that roll of like girls' images that you've got in your head keep on passing over in your head before the internet becomes a problem? Or do you nip that in the bud straight away as well? Are you open with God in your heart? Do you give him these things? Do you say, God, I'm really struggling with this. I'm really struggling with this. Do you let God into your life and change it? Are you open with other guys around you? God's given us so many great guys around us. I've got so many great guy mates at pastorate who I'll be totally open with. And that is such a big help, because I can be open with them and then we can pray there and then about it. And I know the other guys would feel the same about the guys in our pastorate. Are you open with the guys around your students? Are you open with your mates in student stuff? Are you open with them? Do you actually have accountability with them? So they can be like, look mate, something's coming up here, watch it, what's going on? What is your heart like if they did that? If they did that, would you just not listen? Or do you actually have the heart where you want to get these things sorted? Because remember, at the end of the day, God just wants to love you. He just wants to forgive you and to grow you into the godly man that he designed you to be. God's got an image of all of you that he wants you to fulfill. He's got a purpose for each one of you guys to fulfill. He wants all of you guys to be great godly men for him. But to do that, you've got to allow him into your life to sort you out and to be listening to him and open to him. And don't be like Cain, where he just shuts him out. Remember, we're on the side of Cain. We're on the side of Cain here. We're not with Abel, not like Sunday school where you're told you're Abel, you're not. We are all over the side of Cain. We're all over the side of Cain. If you guys get into groups now, we've got a load of questions to go through. So break into like fours or something like that. Up to you, however you want to do it. Turn around chairs and stuff. And I'll just read out the questions as we go.